Thursday, June 13th, 2013. I'm Rim.
I'm Scott.
And this is Geek Nights. Tonight on the GeekNights Book Club, The Player of Games.
Let's do this.
So I guess Reddit liked our anime panel from Anime Boston.
That's really weird. I don't expect anyone to like any of our shit.
We'll do a PAX panel for a room with like 1,000 people in it. It's this giant deal. And after PAX, there's not a lot of discussion. It's not like we said anything particularly controversial.
Yeah, we put all our panels up, and some people watch them, and some people like them.
But there's no like community, like crazy discussion around them. No one has like a 300 comment thread on Reddit about our Dungeons and Dragons discussion. If anything, the discussion's like, oh, they made some good points about D&D. I have some additional points that I'll make. But with this anime thing, I think we poked the that guys, and the that guys got mad.
I was surprised. I thought there would be mostly that guys, but it was mostly not that guys.
I think that is why that video was popular, because it was for you non-anime people, we basically did this thing called Judge an Anime by its cover, where we took a bunch of shows and we reviewed them just based on a single picture and a paragraph of summary. And basically, there's a silent majority of anime fans who are kind of sick of the perverted crap and the kind of annoying people who like the perverted crap, and they overwhelmingly seem to take this video as their rallying cry and banner. And meanwhile, the that guys took umbrage with the fact that we called pedophilia shows out for being about pedophilia.
No.
I'm enjoying this. So I guess we need to do more provocative anime panels that just piss off fanboys, but are generally the consensus of everyone else. Could we do the same thing for gaming?
Let me go off on all the stuff I usually go off on.
Yeah, but what do we call it to do this, to bring attention to
Okay, well,
it?
what are the things I usually go off on when it comes to gaming?
All right, so how about our panel will be microtransactions are a cancer, a literal cancer that kills people in the real world.
That's a little too far. But I mean, things that I say a lot, right? For example, walk around and hit things games are bullshit crap. Why do you like them? 2, you actually just like games for the theme. You don't actually like games. You are not the same as we are.
All right. So here's what we call that panel. That's not a game, semicolon, you're not a gamer. That is the title.
How about failed to get into Hollywood, stay away from game industry?
Gaming, the bastion of Hollywood washouts.
Oh, snap.
Burn.
Boom. There was the dynamite. Dynamite.
So we were talking about Kickstarters because Scott found a really cool Kickstarter project. And before we talk about the player of games, the Geek Nights Book Club, it's the lounge. It's Thursday.
No, it's not. It's book club. Book club and lounge don't mix.
I believe if I was going to have a book club in the physical world, I would have it in a lounge.
The lounge would be too noisy with music and drinking to have a good book club discussion.
There are lounges that have nothing but quiet, tasteful piano music in the background.
That's not a lounge.
Those are lounges.
No, it's not. You need a lounge singer.
That's a different kind of lounge. That's like a bar lounge.
Well.
Anyway, I would have a lounge, and more importantly, I would be lounging.
That's not the kind of lounge this is.
On a Chase lounge.
This kind of lounge is the kind with the singer in it.
You gonna sing? Is that what you're saying?
No, Richard Cheese is coming in like 10 minutes.
But yeah, so we're not gonna belabor the point, but we're gonna talk a little about some Kickstarters because we've kickstarted a lot of cool stuff.
I kickstart way too many things.
I've only kickstarted 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Well, you talk about some things you kickstarted. I'm gonna count how many I've done.
Okay, so I'm gonna go from the most recent. First, I'm gonna do the 3 that are still in progress.
Like 15, that's it.
I have way too many more than that. Okay, so the most recent ones that are in progress still. Plus pool, tile by tile. These people are going to build a pool, a swimming pool, in the East River down near Brooklyn Bridge area, sort of off the park.
Now, you might be thinking, and you're
who wants to fucking swim in that goddamn East River? You're gonna
So what is this,
killed.
an experiment to murder children? Like, what?
Yeah, it's not, give to their credit, it's not a pool in the Gowanus Canal. Right?
I imagine they sink this thing in the Gowanus Canal, and there isn't enough water through the filter to
They're
fill
using
it.
technology similar to what was used in the Beacon Hudson River pool, right? Why do we keep living in places with these river pools? But they think it's the world's first water filtering floating pool. So
now that's bullshit because I know that they put one in the river in Beacon.
Right. So I kickstarted it for $150, which gets me a tile in the pool, one of the white tiles that I can write on it. And
now there are only 2 things you could write. it either has to be "Look ye mighty," which is, for those of you who don't know us, been our catchphrase for a decade plus, or the penis mightier.
I think it has to be "Look you mighty" because think about the pool itself, right? Look upon this work and despair, this pool, right? It's this great
because
work.
anything else I would write would be copyright infringement, trademark infringement, or obscene.
Anyway, so
maybe, I mean, there is
also,
no God.
I get,
you're swimming in poop.
Yeah, sure. Also, I get passes to go to the pool like a week before it opens to everyone else, which means that it'll actually be a pleasure to swim in it. And after the public is let in and it's full of poop, I won't never go back. But they'll see my name there.
Plus, you'll be able to take your GoPro in the water and get a really good picture of the tile.
I'm going to be doing all kinds of stuff like that.
Yeah.
When I go, because I think it's a whole. It's not just like a day of going; it's a week of pre-going. So I go like every day.
Now, the cool thing, and I'm not sure what they mean by this, is they say it's going to filter the water, so you're swimming in the water. But the pool itself has filtered the water, so it's just water.
I don't think the water goes straight from the East River into the pool. I think the only way water from the river gets into the pool is through this machine that cleans it and makes it nice.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Well, the one they did in Beacon, what it did is the pool itself was a filter. The walls of the pool were the filter. And they just sink it, and water just osmoses in through.
Yeah, this is a different. This is some sort of active filtering.
Well, I'm not sure. It seems active, but
they have
at the same
a picture of the filter machine.
No, that is the test tank.
Oh.
What they're kickstarting to start is funding to build the test pool that's 35 feet by 35 feet. That's going to be sunk in the water to see if it works full scale. It's going to sit in the water. Water just goes through the filters from the sides and I guess the bottom.
Well, this is a thing
pool.
I want to exist, so that's why I'm giving it money.
Now, what I'm curious about is they say that it will actually clean the water in the East River itself.
Very barely, because it's going to spit out the clean water that's excess, and it's going to keep dirt in the filter. You empty the filter, you're slowly cleaning the East River.
I'm assuming that's how it's going to work. So
very
we'll see.
small, but you're cleaning at the end. If you want to really clean it, you have to clean it up top. You can't clean it at the bottom.
Well, it depends. I think the technology is cool. Imagine if we start building these en masse and just putting them in every shithole of polluted water.
If they put them all around the river all the way up top, then it would help, but it's not helping down there. Anyway.
This is just a really cool project, and it's finally...
if you talk for this long about each one, we're not
going to talk long about the other ones, but it's finally a project that is doing what Kickstarter is ostensibly for. Someone wants to do a cool thing that wouldn't happen unless they got funding for it. Kickstarting it is to make it happen, not really a pre-order for the thing.
As opposed to these other things, such as... Double Fine's Massive Chalice. I think everyone knows about that.
Yep.
Right.
I funded this awesome belt with really classy buckles that is cut to size.
I wish I had seen that.
And has no holes.
Yeah.
It's got this ratchet mechanism in the back. And if anything is up my alley, it's ratchets.
This is already funded, but they're going to make a documentary movie about the Straits Matzah factory in Brooklyn.
The only thing I got in progress is this plume sort of recoil. Basically, those snap bracelets from the 90s? It's a steel.
Oh, actually, the factory is on the Lower East Side. I thought it was in Brooklyn.
A big steel one of those that is sort of a pull-out mudguard and fender for your bike. So you don't have to have a dorky, annoying fender on your bike. But if it starts raining, you've got a fender for as long as you're biking in the wet.
All right.
I commute a lot on my bike. So
limited edition translation of Osamu Tezuka's The Crater. Yeah. Okay.
Nah. And then Shovel Knight. Oh, I got this cool titanium.
Yeah, Shovel Knight.
Too.
I'm on there. Okay.
Because I don't want to carry keys in my pocket anymore.
Oh, okay.
And it'll match the belt buckle on that fancy belt I kickstarted.
B9 Kingdom, pretty much kickstarting everything they do.
Yeah.
Penny Arcade, yep.
Kobolds Ate My Baby, of course.
I didn't do that one. Cucumber Quest Book 2.
I forgot to do that one.
Torchbearer, yep. The 10-year hoodie, I'm waiting for that to show up.
I'm not a fan of that one.
I need it for work.
But really, the one that I got that's important is this UArrange wallet, because the Jimmy
I also
wallet
got that one.
The Jimmy wallet is dead. You can't get it anymore. It was the best wallet. The guy emailed us way back in Geek Nights. We reviewed that wallet, and the dude emailed us immediately. Was like, "Oh my god, all these people are buying the wallet because of your radio show. How many Jimmies do you want for free?"
And I was like, 0. I already bought some.
I was like, yeah, we all already own a Jimmy.
I should have taken up on that offer because now not enough Jimmies.
Yeah. So what's funny is no one has a solution for the wallet.
There's so many wallets in Kickstarter. None of them are perfect. This was the least bad.
It's the best one. The only fault I see with it is that is not butt sweat proof like the plastic one is, which is the primary benefit of the Jimmy wallet. It is butt sweat proof. Because leather wallets start to smell like a butt the longer you own them.
Yep. And the last thing I just want to mention is I kickstarted this. I think it's done. Is the Neo Lucida, a portable camera Lucida for the 21st century. Now
that is such a hipster Kickstarter.
Hold on. Do you know what a camera obscura is?
Yes.
Yes. So what's a camera Lucida?
Isn't that the one where it makes the outline and then you draw on it?
So this is basically a prism, and you put the prism on a stick above your paper, and you put your paper on the table. You aim the prism at like an object, and then if you look down at your paper, you see literally that object on the paper, and then you can draw whatever the object is. So you like aim it at a person's face, and then suddenly you look at your piece of paper, and there's their face. It's it's like the light bouncing off.
So we can make this technology even better, Scott. What if we then put a scanner there instead of a piece of paper or a camera?
It's a little faint, but yeah, you could do that.
No, you're missing my point.
But it is, right? But the point is that you draw. You have a pencil and a paper, and you can draw while there's basically a picture of someone's face on there, but you draw right on it. You don't need like a light box or tracing paper or any bullshit like that.
That's a cool thing.
Yeah, so it comes with, I've got it for only $47. I get a full one that I can use, and actually 2 extra prisms so I can make my own. So we can have 3.
All right. But yeah, I'll just link to them if you want to see what we're kickstarting.
It's the only way I'm ever going to be able to draw anything nice in my life.
One time I used tracing paper to trace this really good picture of a fighter jet, and then I kind of penciled it in with some shading.
I also have the idea to basically aim it at a piece of paper, and the piece of paper is on a Wacom tablet, and then I can digitally draw someone or thing.
So you're going to get a Wacom tablet?
After I saw that video of that guy, he wasn't using it to draw. He was using it to, touch up photos.
You could bug Emily because she's got her old Wacom. It's pretty good, but she's thinking about upgrading.
That one's way big.
Yeah?
I need a way small one.
Why not just get the big one?
How am I going to carry that anywhere?
Oh, you're going to carry it around with you?
What would be... I mean, come on. What's the point of something that can't move?
So things of the day. This is exactly what Tumblr is like.
Okay.
That's all I got to say about this.
That's it?
This is... We were driven... The only thing funnier than this was something I'm not going to link to from our previous YouTubings.
Okay. So I think I might have done this as a thing of the day a long time ago. I'm not sure.
Cheater.
But it's it's something new. Is, combination remixes of Beastie Boys and Beatles, right? So the first album was Let It Beast. The second album was The Beastles.
I know we've talked about it, but again, I don't know if you used it as a thing of the day.
There is now a brand new third album, Ill Submarine.
Oh.
20 tracks, all new. You can download all 3 albums on this link I'm giving you right here. These are going to be filling my iPod and probably getting rotated for a week or two.
I'm checking that.
Yeah.
Even though, because I'm finally...
Ill Submarine, come on.
I'm finally almost over my Chrono Jigger. I'm not constantly listening to it.
You're still Chrono Jigging?
Well, I'm like I said, I'm just moving beyond the Chrono Jigger.
I should go back to Chrono Jigger.
I know. But no, I've gone back into Russian music for a while.
I've gone back to my... summer K-pop.
Well, after that, every day I'm drinking.
Super
every
Eurobeat
day I'm drinking.
Rotation. It's summertime, so I got all the energetic music.
I'm noticing some people we know getting into or getting back into super Eurobeat just on Twitter.
That's always good.
And that is, I think, going to get me back into super Eurobeat. I forgot how much I like super Eurobeat.
It's the best.
So yeah, Meta Moment, the book club book. We're doing it right now. I have not chosen the next one yet because there is something I did want to choose, but Scott will be really mad if I choose it.
If you choose that, I got a legitimate argument for why you can't choose that as opposed to just it's bullshit.
Oh, because it's obscure?
Because no one can fucking get it.
So, I'm going to look into how easy it might be to pirate it.
I'm searching for it on Amazon right now.
Amazon, Pirate Bay.
It's not too easy to get on Amazon. You get
will
volume
see.
2, but not volume 1. There's a few of there's like 5. There's only 14 copies, I think. Oh no, here it is. You can sort of buy it on Amazon for $8.06. Only 3 left in stock. Order soon.
We'll see. I'm kind of invested in reading this just because of the little art inside of it.
Yeah, we can go ahead and read it and even review it on a Geek Nights, but I don't think you can make it a book club book. Oh, actually, there's 59 copies, but even that's not enough.
Is it? Because these kids don't read the books
But they have to buy, a lot of those are used shady copies from who knows where. They're not from Amazon. There's only 3 that are from Amazon.
I ordered that used shady copy of The Prince of Nothing, and it was fine, except that it smelled strongly of locks.
Yeah, you're going to pick a book, it should be an in-print book that people
We're
can
going to be at
get.
Kineticon. We're going to be at PAX Australia.
Really soon. It's like a month away, this
I
shit.
know.
Yeah.
We're going to be probably at PAX Dev and PAX Prime.
Oh, snap.
And then MagFest and PAX East. And I guess Anime Boston 2014. And yeah, check out our internet. There's lots of it.
We have a lot of internet to check out, and apparently some people like it.
Yeah, people have been joining the forum. Though, if you submitted a submission to join our forum and we rejected you, that means whatever you typed in that field, I was personally not convinced you were not a spam bot.
Yeah, if you write something like,
I want to join the discussion. No.
Yeah,
that's
not
spam bot.
Yeah, you have to write something that convinces us that you're a human being.
Write like, I don't know, big old dick or something, or Rim and Scott are gay.
Something that there is no chance a spam bot could have written. For example, like one guy wrote, I went and saw your video of your, at Judge an Anime by its cover panel on YouTube, and I really liked it, so I wanted to check out your other stuff.
Yeah, probably not a spam bot.
Yeah, I don't think any spam bot in the universe will write that.
Yet.
Right
now, no.
One day, AI spams. Well, someone will make an AI that his goal in life is to spam. Then what?
I imagine in the culture, there could be spam.
Maybe. So let's talk about the culture.
All right, so you picked the book.
Culture.
So
this book, I picked this book because basically, why is my Kindle not turning on? There we go. When you read the description of this book, right, it is based on the description alone, the back of the book paragraph, it is the most Geek Nights book a book can possibly be based on the description. I cannot imagine a book being more Geek Nights than this book, right? Based on, the bare summary of what happens, right? There is a society called the Culture that is pretty much Geek Nights paradise. And there's a guy in it whose only thing in life is to play games. And he has to go somewhere and play games in this weird other society where playing this one game determines who will be emperor.
So wait a minute, it's about 2 equally utopic places for people like us to live.
Precisely. And and what happens when the 2 come into conflict?
I've read a lot of books that had utopias or futures, and very few fantasy worlds and science fiction worlds are places I would actually really want to live.
Yeah, there are many aspects of the
Ghost in the
culture.
Shell, maybe, but you know what? We're on that path anyway.
Yeah, I know. Ghost in the Shell's too real.
Yeah. Ghost in the Shell is like,
we're
wow,
in it.
We're doing worse than that in a lot of ways.
Yeah, we are.
Or like the Prince of Nothing. Yeah, don't want to live in the world of the honey of unwashed anuses.
Yeah, no.
Lord of the Rings. Yeah, everything probably smells like poop there too, unless you're Elven. Yeah, you know what? Fantasy worlds, if I get to be an elf, I would rather live in them.
Okay, sure.
Granted, the elves always get overrun by some horrible thing and eventually have to go to the West.
Prince of Nothing. If I get to be the no god, I'll live there.
What do you see?
I see awesomeness because I'm a fucking tornado. Woo!
Woo! Well, no, you are.
How awesome is that?
You are an iron sarcophagus surrounded by a tornado.
Tornado's part of me too.
Maybe, we're not sure.
Dude, I have okay, fine. I have a pet tornado. Not complaining.
It's not bad.
Not complaining.
Tornado Man, I choose you.
That's right.
So, we're assuming from this point on that you have read Iain M. Banks' The Player of Games. We're going to spoil the ever-living fuck about it, and we're not going to summarize the plot. So
let me summarize the plot for you. Awesomeness happens, followed by awesomeness, followed by more awesomeness.
My immediate impression was that the main character is kind of a dick.
Yeah,
he reminded me of you. To be perfectly honest, he reminded me of you in a kind of direct and immediate, like, wow, this guy's kind of like Scott way. Because he's kind of a dick, kind of a loner, really good at games, dedicated his life to games, doesn't like most games.
But I wouldn't cheat.
Yeah, he also wouldn't cheat. And he cheated once. And even then, when he cheated, he didn't cheat fully, and his rationale for cheating was actually a really good rationale.
He's cheated. I still wouldn't have cheated there.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, the reason I wouldn't have cheated there is because I wouldn't have trusted that fucking bot, because that bot
Right, that was
also
that was the
reminded me of
weirdest
you.
thing is like, why? What? Obviously, they set up this drone to be a clearly obvious bad guy. And it's
No,
like,
no, no,
why
they
does
set
he
him
still...
up. They
Why
set
does
him
he
up.
still hang around with it or even talk to it? It would just be like...
That was very clear. He kind of liked that bot because Marwin Skell was more of a dick than him and would say the things to other people that he, for whatever reason, wasn't willing to say. So he would just sit there and laugh as that bot just pissed everyone else off.
Yeah, but it also pissed him off too. He wasn't immune from its attacks.
Yes, however, he enjoyed the bot messing with other people, and he enjoyed pissing off the bot.
That's also true, yeah.
But Marwin Skell, I kind of like him.
Yeah, well, I mean, once you read the rest of the book...
before then, I kind of like him, but...
I didn't like him before the rest of the book.
But seriously, I called it that he was the narrator pretty much as soon as he said the word maestro.
Yeah.
Because he said maestro before, and then when that interjection where it's like, hey, I'm the narrator.
At that first interjection, it was like, oh, there's a narrator? And I was like, that's the freaking robot, obviously. Yep. Drone, not a robot.
But when he said maestro, and in the past, immediately I was like, all right, that guy is clearly also that other bot.
Yeah.
Especially because it was foreshadowed elegantly that the other bot was wearing a fake bot around it. And then it turns out that Yo-Dog, the bot, was wearing a bot wearing a bot. But that Iain M. Banks, I wish I had known about him before he died.
Yeah. But it's not like, we're going to get the same number of books either way. So from a selfish perspective, it doesn't matter. It's just, sad that we didn't have like a chance to maybe go meet him or email him or anything like that.
Yep. But
I'm sure he was at a convention we could have gone to.
All those little touches were just elegantly done. The foreshadowing was, I think, extremely apt and extremely subtle and extremely elegant.
I mean, everything about this book was done so elegantly in a way I didn't expect, but was so pleased with, right? Like when he gets to the planet, he's playing all these games. You don't get this, he doesn't like devolve into a boring play-by-play of any games. He doesn't like drag you through all this monotony in between. He's fast-forwarding over boring parts, so you only get the parts of the story that matter, right? And the way he describes the playing of the games, he really you can get a feel for what's happening in the game, even though he didn't bother to make up any rules of the game.
He clearly took a full page from C.S. Forrester because he was like,
oh yeah,
he was like the progenitor of that style of writing about a thing. You'll read a whole chapter and you'll feel like you know exactly what happened. But if someone asked you, you would be hard-pressed to say anything that happened.
Yep. And I love how all the really great ideas he puts all over in the book, right? I mean, he already had the ideas of the culture society from the previous book, but it still counts. He still came up with the great ideas. But there are other things that are introduced in here. Like, he talks about how, like, the triple sexed, the three different genders and how they interplay in the Azadian society.
Yep.
And how, like, the game has biotics in it. So there's like biological physical pieces you play with in the game
I think
that you have to control.
Specifically served one purpose, to really drive home how complex and important to that culture that game is, that they would devote that level of integration into a game.
Yep. But it's like just all throughout the book, there's stuff like that. Like, just like the ideas of things to put into this world are things I wouldn't even come up with if an RPG was egging me on to come up with them, right?
Yeah. Well, like, it's such a tiny example. The ship names and the names of people are the best.
Yeah, it's just everything is just so crazy. It's like he maximized
Chomless
the creativity.
has those two friends that are ships. I like how ships are just people.
Yep.
If you're sentient, you're a person.
Yep.
But Chomless's two friends are just read the instructions and of course I still love you. And then there's that other ship they meet later, Kiss My Ass, and So Much for Subtlety. Or
if you were a ship, what would your name be? It should be your culture ship name.
So
we need a generator.
I've been thinking
your culture ship name generator.
I have been thinking at length about what my name would be in the culture, and I haven't come up with it yet.
No,
but so I'm hard pressed to say. Why, do you have one that you're ready to rock on?
No,
not at all. But my favorite
listeners, tell us what our culture ship names are.
Well, I think people have similar names, really, because the different components of their names all mean something. But notice how in our own real world history, there'll be names of things that mean something. I like how in this world, it's contemporary. The names are in the contemporary language. So, gunboat diplomat.
Yep. Well, I mean, think about it. You know, we have this weird thing in English, at least. Like, someone's name is like something Goldsmith. Or, you know, something, you know, carpenter.
You can bet your ass that at some point in that man's
that
past
dude's
life
ancestor
was a maker of
was
shumps.
Was a, you know, like someone baker. It's like, yeah, your ancestor must have been a baker when you got your first surname, and now baker is just a surname. People don't even think about the baking aspect. It's completely separated in their mind.
But also that it kind of implies that in the culture, parts of your name are given to you based on things you've done.
And you can make your name whatever you want because it's a super free society.
Yep, but at the same time,
basically hedonism to the max.
People might not call you by one of your names if they perceive you differently, because if you're a dick, maybe they just start calling you Shamless El Dicko. What are you going to do about that?
Nothing. Nothing you can do.
Yep.
I mean, and it's like, yeah, there's no laws. You can just kill people. Or if you want to kill someone, sure.
Yeah,
but
like the blackmail. Notice how the only thing he could blackmail him with, like the idea
was
of being
social failing.
The idea of being murdered by that bot basically didn't even enter his mind.
Yep.
He was just like, I hope he doesn't tell people about this. But it's not like there was
And it's like, okay, yeah, how's he going to prove I did it, right? He tells everyone. He could just be lying. Nobody, you know, and it's like anyone could manufacture evidence for anything because we have such high technology.
But then that bit was well done. But that bit is why I assumed that little bot was set up purely to be able to send him on this journey and make him do it all along, because so many of the pieces fit way too well.
Especially when the bot when whatever Morenskel, you knew he was gonna like the troublemaker. He was foreshadowed so heavily to be the troublemaker.
Well, in the beginning, I thought he was going to be the troublemaker who follows the guy with him, which I was right, but not for the right reason.
But as soon as he disappeared, quotes disappeared, and stopped making trouble, you know that was the setup, and that the other you know.
Now at that moment, I didn't think at that exact moment that he was the bot for the rest of the story.
I thought it could be, but I didn't. I wouldn't have bet on it at that point.
I thought the contact just fucking killed him.
That was a possibility. I would have believed at that time.
And I like how when Morat got home at the very end, they had put that bot's body like on a plaque over the fireplace.
Yep.
Shamless, I think, has the best sense of humor, and it seems like the most pleasant dude to hang out with.
Yeah. What do you think about the character that's barely in the book, the Ye character?
Ye is too awesome.
Ye seems like someone who is way hot and awesome.
Yeah.
But it's like, what was her purpose? Well, her hymns, right? Because everyone's gender changing in the culture whenever they want, because it's so awesome.
Her hymn.
What was the purpose of that character in the book?
Ye would not have a physical or romantic relationship with Morat, because Morat was not interesting enough. Morat had a hang up. He had a problem. He couldn't interface with people in a genuine way for whatever reason. You know, all the stuff in the book. After the hero goes on his journey and comes back, he has changed, and now they can get together.
Mm-hmm. See,
it's a simple part of the story.
Yeah, one thing I thought was really interesting is that opening scene where it's him and Ye basically playing advanced laser future tag, right? Which I really want to fucking play. Holy shit. And you know, he was sort of looking down on these physical games, right? And I was like, hey, you're like that nerd who looks down on sports. This is the very beginning of the book here, like page 1. And I'm like, he's a nerd looking down on sports, and she respects sports as games. I see what's going on here, right? I'm like, the end of the book, I read page 1 already, and I'm thinking, the end of the book, he's going to have to play a sporty game, and he's not going to like it, but he's going to pull it off anyway or something.
Yeah, but no, he had to.
But that's not what happened at all.
When that awesome diplomat, who I imagined as being exactly like that elven ambassador in Ogloff.
Oh, that's exactly who I thought he was the whole time. We thought the same thing.
Because he is that guy.
He is that guy.
I love how at the end they're like, yeah, he's not culture. He's just this guy we know.
Yeah.
He's going to lead the revolution. And that made me remember way back when he first gets to Azad and that girl is just like, win. Like takes him aside, covers
And you
the
never see her
microphone.
again because she's dead. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
But it was all a setup. Clearly, this was all a setup to take down the Azadi
Right,
Empire.
now this is the thing that gets me so even more excited about the culture, right? Because like, yeah, the culture on the face value is an awesome paradise for people like us. There's basically no laws. The technology is super advanced. Anyone can basically change gender, make anything. There's no, there's abundance of everything.
Yep, like that discussion he has with the one
It's very
Azadian,
similar to the Star Trek
where the guy's like, but what if
society.
someone asks for something ridiculous like their own planet? And he's like, yeah,
All right.
sure, we'll give him 10. Who cares?
Yeah, it's very similar to the Star Trek society, but perhaps even beyond that, right? But right, it's also Prince of Nothing society because the minds that run the show are basically so advanced that they come before everyone else. So even though they're all living lives of perfect freedom hedonism, they're not. They're totally under the control of these minds in a perfect Brave New World way, where it's the paradise of tyranny as opposed to the 1984 evil tyranny that's just overbearing and controlling you with fear.
But at the same time, a strong-willed person can still do whatever they want, so they have total effective freedom.
Yes,
Or at least total perceived agency.
but the minds are so much more advanced than you are that unless you are one of those advanced minds,
when I
you're
first
not gonna be.
When I first read Hyperion, and that was the first sci-fi I'd read.
Oh, what's the name of that thing in
where
Hyperion?
the super advanced
The spike,
AI,
whatever it is.
No, forget the strike, that bullshit.
Oh, okay.
Where the super advanced AI and the humans got along. Granted, we know how that turned out.
Yeah.
Here, yes, they do get along, and they augment each other. Actually, and they work to each other's advantage. They have different levels of perspective.
Yep.
And they basically treat each other as equals. And I love how the ships all just like talk to each other and they're just totally kind of chill. And he's just like playing games with the ship and just hanging out.
It's a little bit weird though how they have these drones which are basically manufactured people, right? They're completely sentient.
But notice how they clearly have a sort of non-deterministic guided process for creating them.
Yes, but they also, each drone that is made has a purpose of like thing it's supposed to do. And even though they're free-willed and sentient, they still do the task that they were built to do as if they were robots, and they sort of like to do it and were made to like to do it. Right, so it's like he's calling up on his what's it called, his terminal, like, which I guess is an iPad.
Yep.
Right. Like, hey, I'm climbing a mountain, help me, or I'm falling, catch me before I die, or hey, can you come check my house for
but
bugs?
it's implied that a lot of the lower level drones are not that intelligent.
That's
so
true.
So
but
it's fine.
there are still higher level drones that are saying, okay, I'll do this work for you.
But at the same time,
and they sort of like doing it.
But they're all quirky and cool. Like the mind on his where he lives. It's just like, yo, dog, I was totally listening to that. Sorry. So what was that all about? What's going on?
Yeah.
We cool?
What's up, mind?
Yep.
How you doing?
And it really, the book.
I wish my computer was a mind. How awesome would that be?
The book shows you all these things about this world, but like the Prince of Nothing, it does not stop and force it on you. It just unravels and reveals it over time by using the words contextually and just letting things go.
You know what it is? It's the light that came before. That's what it is, right? The light that came before.
So, is it just me, or was the Empire of Azad not just a thinly veiled allegory to modern day human society?
I think it was an unabashed allegory to modern day society.
Yep, it was pretty much
Forget
reading
your thinly
that.
veiled. There was no veil on that shit.
It is literally, well, I think the
If
veil,
there ever was a veil, it was tossed on the floor.
the veil for less apt readers is, oh, but they have 3 sexes and they're aliens. It's totally different.
No.
And they have this game. It's totally different.
Yeah, okay.
But no, it's just humans.
Yeah, we have a game too. You know what the game's called? Democracy.
But I did enjoy that scene
Voting.
where
Election campaigns.
Immasha at the end was like, yo, dog, I know you're going to go play this game. So I'm going to show you just how fucked up this planet is, just so you don't puss out on the end.
Yep.
And at the same time, it's obvious they were grooming him to win the game. And then at the end, they're like, yeah, we wanted to take that empire down because they were assholes.
Yeah. Oh, that's another great idea you put into the book that was just so creative. The planet where the fire goes around the planet like that. Oh, who comes up with an idea like that?
That's the kind of thing, like in Hyperion, the planets with all the different cool, weird things. But in Hyperion...
It's like, how many could you come up with if I forced you to sit there and come up with them?
But in Hyperion, those kinds of things go nowhere, and I'm disappointed. In this, it was awesome.
Well, you knew as soon as they describe the fire planet and tell you what the situation is, you know they're going to get hit by the fire, right? That's foreshadowed, but then they actually get hit by it, and it's like, oh, yeah.
Yep. But notice how there's one thing I want to bring up about the game itself and how he was bored because games didn't mean anything, and he could, like, playing a game with no stakes doesn't mean anything.
Yeah, well, and also he was probably playing Settlers, which he had solved.
But he
hadn't solved. What was the game that he cheated at?
Oh, web, whatever.
Possession?
Web, yeah.
Yeah.
But anyway, then he goes to this planet, and he's still not playing for any stakes except for recognition. And he starts suddenly caring about the recognition they didn't care about before for a while. But then when it gets to the point where they're like, yo, you can keep playing, but we're going to tell everyone in the world you lost, he's fine with it anyway. And he's now completely, just like he was before when he was unsatisfied, playing the game for nothing. But yet, because there are no stakes, he doesn't realize there are any actual stakes involved because no one will ever know. In fact, at that point, he even knows that the people he's playing with know the deal with the culture. So there's nothing happening. And yet now, he's wholly fulfilled as a person. Still playing the game for zero stakes. And the fact that it actually was for the biggest stakes and they didn't tell him that, but yet the only way to get him to play was to show him how fucked up this world is. So he finally realized he was playing for a personal stake, I think. He was playing for the personal stake of proving that he is better than these people.
Well, no, it's not only he is better than them.
He as an extension of the culture.
Right, the culture and his philosophy is better. It's like, we are better than you. The way your society is a bad society. And he wasn't necessarily trying to prove it to them. He was proving it to himself.
Yes,
right?
that is what I was getting at.
Proving to himself that, yes, the culture I live in, right, the way the philosophies and ideals our society stands for and the way it operates are better, and I am proving it by winning this game. And they go into describing, you don't know the rules of Azad still, right? But he describes it like, he's moving his pieces in a fashion that matches the way the culture would move those pieces, like the top culture mind. The way the culture moves and expands throughout the galaxy is the same way he's expanding across the board and conquering territory, whereas the Emperor is doing the same thing. The Emperor is trying to prove to himself he knows what the culture is all about. He is proving to himself that the way Azad is better.
That is not what the Emperor was doing.
Because he's moving his pieces the way Azad would move those pieces.
No, but he was moving the pieces in that way. Because remember how invested in the game to this almost erotic point Marat was, and then the Emperor comes to talk to him, and the Emperor didn't experience any of that. The Emperor was literally just playing so the culture wouldn't fuck his shit up. He was playing as a representation of Azadian culture solely because that is the culture that birthed him. The Earth peoples. Azads. He was not thinking in those terms. Only Marat was thinking in those terms because Marat had nothing to win or lose, nothing to gain or lose. He was playing to prove that he is better because he was the embodiment of the culture and the culture was the embodiment of him.
And if Marat had known what the stakes were, right, would he have played differently and perhaps failed?
Yes.
Which shows, the coming before of the minds in the way they played him, right? But at the same time, the minds of the culture are playing a game that is the culture, and they are doing the same thing to Marat that Marat was doing to the pieces on the Azad board.
The book at multiple points makes it clear that they don't come perfectly before because they do leave things to chance on several occasions. Now, it's often inconsequential things, but even then, they let the Azadian Empire be bullshit for 70 years because they tried a bunch of other ways to take down other empires over these millennia, and they were like, well, this one's weird. Let's hold out until maybe we come up with a weird way to bring it down.
And that's how, right? And that's what I'm saying is that, he was playing Azad. He's like, oh, make an attack here. Oh, you know what? That's a weird thing he's got going on over there. I'm going to hold out and see how that develops before I make my move on it.
Exactly.
Right? It's like, oh, what's he? You could even think about this in terms of games we play in everyday life. Like, what is Rim doing over there with that kingdom in T&E? He's got like two greens, but he's only got his red leader in there.
Now, this is something, the way he describes...
I'll wait to see if he builds a monument or something.
The way the book describes playing games is... at least for me, exactly the way I feel when I play games.
Yeah, well, good games.
That was so accurate to the feelings I have in my mind while I'm playing a game. And like Scott, you brought up those situations where I'm watching you do something that I don't understand, and I'm trying to figure out, is he stupid or brilliant? What the hell's going on over there?
Yeah. Let's talk about some of the other games besides the big one against the Emperor, right?
Well,
like, how about the one where he played against the guy for like the high stakes of castration, right? And he was sort of like,
I like how they were 0 stakes for him.
Yeah, it's sort of like...
In fact, the only concern of the culture was don't leave your dick behind.
Yeah.
They might study it.
Yeah.
And he's
your
like,
magic dick.
And he's like, whatever, I'll grow it back. I mean, it's not a big deal. And then you think he almost considered...
But the thing is, he could have left his dick behind. We found out later. Because they already knew.
Well, no, only the fewest
true,
people knew.
But who would have taken the dick if he had left it behind, right?
1 or 2 tiers down, you get the impression.
Maybe. Who knows? Either way, right? That was really interesting because at that point, he was so torn. He's like, I could beat this guy who's not the worst guy. You know, he had good parts and horrible parts.
Yep, he enjoyed playing with the guy, and the way he
But the guy was also a horrible person, but he was also good to play with, but he was also a good person in other ways.
This is why I like the book. The way he described his feelings toward that guy, and I'm going to sound horrible, is the way I feel towards certain people I play good games with that are not in my inner circle.
Oh, snap. It's so true.
Yeah, you've had that experience. You're playing a game with, let's say, some guy.
At a convention. Or at a game night.
Or, let's say, at RWAG, who is a perfectly capable player of games.
Yeah, you can sit down and play a game with them, and they will not disturb or upset you, but you know that when they go home, they are an awful human being.
And... again,
but while they're sitting at that game table, they are completely personable and they play quickly and well and are a pleasure to have at the game table.
But it's another point where this book spoke directly to me personally, just because these are the experiences I had.
I knew when I read that description, this is the most Geek Nights a book could be, and it was right, 100% right in that assessment.
I know. But in terms of the games themselves, I mean, obviously, I forget the order of the games, but one of them was basically euchre.
But he played against the team with the cleric.
Well, we'll get back to that.
Oh, you're talking about the subsets of Azad.
No, or just the games in the beginning of the book where he's just talking about games.
On the train he plays? And
yeah, like one of them is clearly just basically euchre, and they're all just sort of... they're all the kinds of game theory games that we talk about in panels.
Yep. Doesn't
matter about the details of them. But then, notice how in those games, none of them involve... to use a game design term from that Garfield book we fellate so often, the politicking doesn't exist. All the games that the culture likes are the super pure games that we talk about.
Yeah, but Azad, especially when Azad is that game when it's one-on-one, but a lot of the rounds of Azad had the multiple players and the politicking came big, especially with that cleric who like came back and was in and out, right?
And the cleric played with all... notice how he won all the individual games and then all 9 players ganged up on him.
Yep.
And then the girl talks about how everyone gangs up on the girl.
Mm-hmm.
But in terms of the descriptions of the games themselves, it really came into stark light, and they made a really good point at the end. And this is something that bothered me the entire book until the end when something was said, and then suddenly I realized that they'd strung me along the whole way. So in the beginning, he's playing these game theory games, and he's pretty much the greatest gamer. I mean, there are people who are better than him. Like, there's the chess master, but he's only really good at chess.
This guy is the games master.
He's good at games at their core.
Yep.
But then they're describing Azad, and he's having doubts, and the game is so complicated. The AIs are way better than him. There's so much going on. They set it up in this fantasy world as being this ridiculously complex,
like you need a whole
game.
room to play this game, and with multiple boards and things you walk around the pieces and shit. And there's I said biological pieces, which I want to make a game with biological pieces.
At the very end, the robot with him was just like, yeah, we knew you'd win because I mean, all games are just made up of the simpler games, and you've played all those simple games, so this game isn't actually that hard. And it wasn't. I like how the game actually, no. Anyone who's reasonably smart just crushes everybody in that game.
Yep.
I mean, he beat all the nubs, and he only was challenged by the actually good players.
There was a little bit of initial D going on in there, right? Or, general shonen fighting of like, yeah, he's Kenshiro, he always wins, but seriously, this next guy is the Emperor who's won like fucking all the time, and the only person he didn't beat was the previous
Emperor. Yeah,
because
they keep setting you up. He keeps thinking, am I missing something? Am I missing something? Which we've had that experience.
Yeah,
you're playing Puerto Rico and suddenly someone's doing something way different. You're like, oh, am I missing something? Am I missing something? Then you win by like 30 points. You're like, no, nothing.
I am just better than these. But it's like, wow, that Emperor must be really fucking good at this game. Holy
notice
shit.
that moment of doubt he had when the Emperor's like, I'll have a surprise for you tomorrow. He's like, what? But I won mathematically. What surprise? Is he just stupid? Did I miss something? And then the surprise was, I'm just going to fucking flip the table over and shoot you.
Oh, and by the way, we have shields and our technology, you can't even shoot me. We're that much better than you. You can't even shoot me.
I really enjoyed the disparity in technology being not what happens in our world where the superior technology is just raping and pillaging and destroying everything. The superior technology was also the good guys.
Yeah, the superior technology, and it's so superior, it's basically just like laughing. It's not like in the real world where it's like, yeah, we can bomb the hell out of someone who has weak technology.
It's like, oh.
But we get on the ground and yeah, they kill a fuck ton of us with bombs and guns, right? This is so laughable. Like the culture could just walk around without any fear of any harm whatsoever, just mowing everyone down. Like even more dangerous than like Terminators in Judgment Day.
And he has such a hard time just even experiencing fear. He's like, should I be afraid now? I wonder if I could die. Like, whoa, dying.
Could that even happen?
Yeah.
And it's like, the dude's trying to like give him drugs, and he's like, I have built-in drugs.
He's like, I bypassed it.
Yeah,
sorry.
I got drugs built in, dude. I wasted your drugs, man.
Yep. And also how he's so worried about, the culture and this whole thing about, well, he's glanding and maybe that's cheating, but they'll let him use them anyway. And then he gets there, he's like, oh, everybody's just using drugs, like injecting them.
Yeah.
Awesome.
It's like, they're all on roids. I have a roid factory in my guts. I don't need to eat roids.
Now, aside from the obvious social commentary that we're going to skip because you should be smart enough.
About gender and poverty and such and such.
Specifically, how well it showed that even the gamer utopia, the perfect meritocracy of here is an objective, 100% fair game that will perfectly test your skills.
It had politics in it, though, right? That was the main.
But it is a society where politicking should matter. In some sense.
Are you talking about the game of Azad, right?
As a whole.
Yeah.
But the fact that the game, you have ostensibly a perfectly fair game that anyone who's smart enough could win.
Except that women can't even get in the game.
Well, they can get in the game. This is the problem.
Barely.
No, they can, but here's the problem.
Everyone will gang up on them even if they're smarter because it's a politics
It's not
game.
even just that. This book does a good job of explaining to libertarian gamer grognards who don't understand what privilege means that yes, everyone has a perfectly equal shot, even if you remove that politicking. Because Marat's like, why don't you just remove the politicking?
Yeah, I guess if that girl was as good at the game as Marat, she got into it, she could have fended off 9 at once, everyone ganging up on her.
Or even then, he makes suggestions like maybe you could remove that ganging up and still have just this the one-on-one.
Yep.
But it doesn't matter because only the people already in power have access to the schools and the life where they can spend their entire life training to play the game. The person who's working for a living does not have those advantages. The game is still unfair.
Yep, and this is why, and the thing is, this game Azad in particular was not a game you could just, you needed a whole court to learn how to play it, right? And all these advanced pieces and things. So to even get a set of it, it's not like chess. Even in New York City, a homeless guy can play chess in the park, right? With basically some sticks and rocks.
And he has access to all the chess books in the library.
Exactly. But in, Azad, it's like if you were a homeless guy in Azad who is, you couldn't even learn learn the game of Azad. There was no way to even get pieces or anything. You could just watch it on TV like it was. It's like us. Imagine if the game for America was NFL football. It's like, yeah, I can watch it on TV, but I can't learn it from TV because you don't see the full picture on TV. They don't show you the whole the whole field, right? Because that'd be boring, right? You don't get to see what the coaches are saying. You don't get to go on the field. You need a ton of equipment and a giant piece of grass and all this referees and stuff to even try to play it. There's no way to learn that game unless you are privileged enough to be like, go to high school and get on a team, or go to a college and get on a team, and so forth, right? And whereas the culture, everyone has all goddamn day to do whatever the hell they want. If they want to learn games, they can do that, which is why the culture is the best.
It's the situation of the Azadians, by and large, are the typical kind of gamer that doesn't really understand the core components of gaming. It was kind of clear that when the politicking came up, they didn't really understand what politicking was. But Murat did, and that's part of why he was able to win, because he understood that that is a factor in multiplayer games, because he understood what a game is, and this whole culture basically didn't. In the same sense that in the real world, no one I play Puerto Rico with understands the lefty-righty and the paper, rock, scissors and the drafting that's happening.
No, the last time I
game.
played Puerto Rico, like, Adam let me have the role I wanted that he should have taken, and I was pretty much at that. As soon as I took that role, I was like, probably gonna win because I'm gonna get a factory no matter what now.
Yep.
And I got one, and I won by a fuck ton of points.
Good game.
And I sort of shut my mouth, even though you sort of said what was gonna happen. But I wanted to let it happen so I could win, but then it made the rest of the game boring.
You started to allude to this before, and then we kind of backed off of it, but I really enjoy, more than all these personal touches, but in a more generic sense, that the culture is willing to just fuck with other cultures.
Well, that's the contact part, right?
Yes.
It's sort of like the inside the culture itself. How much drama is there really that you could tell a story?
I know. I love the story he gets when he's back home and they tell him what happened.
So-and-so changed sex and changed back and made babies and had a party and someone got a full web.
And a few people were killed because there was this crazy accident and whatevs.
Yeah, it's like, no, okay, nothing, look, when the drone is like, threatening him. It's like, that's the most drama you can have here, is someone being socially
Yo, dog,
shamed.
I'm going to tell someone you cheated at a board game.
Right. It's like, inside the culture, you can't have a story, which is why I think he introduces this contact aspect, which is basically the game the minds are playing with the universe.
I don't think that's why he introduced that mechanic to the culture world.
The contact is also in the first book, right?
I know, but I think
it's all about, that's what both, I'm almost done reading the first culture book. This is the second one. You don't need to read any particular order. And
I know.
It's all about the stuff Contact is doing, because that's where the stuff you can write an interesting book for the real world that we live in.
No, but that's what I'm getting
happening.
at. It doesn't have to be because that's how you tell the story. Another way to look at it is that look at the Star Trek kind of sci-fi that most people read. The super advanced benevolent culture always has this non-intervention policy. And a lot of people think that certain kinds of liberalism or progressivism in real world current day politics means cultural relativism and letting everyone do what they want out there.
Nope.
But no, the culture has a strong personal sense of morals that it recognizes is arbitrary and nonetheless feels perfectly willing when it sees something abhorrent to just fuck it up.
Yeah,
which is the kind of...
They see some poverty and they're like, that shit is wrong. Your culture is an awful culture, Azad. We are going to work to replace it with the culture's culture.
And we're going to try to replace it, or at least bring it down so something good can take root in the least horrifying way possible. We're going to try to minimize damage. I mean, they obviously set up this whole resistance movement ready to go.
And they're willing to take their sweet-ass time, because I'm pretty sure those minds are immortal.
Yeah.
They got time.
I mean, how old Chomless is ancient. No one even knows how old he is.
Right. Well, he, she, it, drunk, whatever.
He is in English, because we're not speaking their language. He is the technically correct gender-neutral pronoun.
Whatever it is, it's a drone, right? It's a sentient electronic being.
Yep.
I wish I was one. That'd be awesome.
There was some pretty horrific violence in this book, though.
Well, I mean, you're talking like,
mostly
castrations and people getting lasered.
Well, I think the 2 points that really stood out were when the drone just unlocks the level 3 channel and doesn't even describe it. He describes level 1 to level 2, and level 3 really leaves it mostly to your imagination.
Yeah.
And I love how he makes that point that Murat just kind of sat there watching it and then watched it a whole lot, but wasn't invested in it in that sexual way that the Azadians were. He just watched it.
Yep.
But also, when the vizier is the only way I'm going to describe that guy. Hamlin. Jafar. when he's describing, like, that music might not be that good, but if you know what those instruments are made out of, you'll really appreciate it.
Oh, that guy.
Yeah. But Morad this is why I like the culture. He is so horrified, but he's a gamer. And that whole end section, when even the drone's like, yo, dog, you're not going native, are you? Like, maybe we should start speaking our real language again, because seriously. But he just is smiling and pleasant when the guy says the thing about, the femur extracted from the still living woman. And he's like, so I guess they come in pairs? And he's shooting at those animals, but he's missing on purpose. And he's just...
Oh, yeah, that whole part.
That whole end, you get the impression he's just smiling at them and putting up this face. In his mind, he's thinking, you fuckers.
Yep.
I'm going to beat you all at your own game and then leave with my 2 middle fingers held high.
And it's sort of what he does.
I'm going to win just to prove that you're all assholes.
Yeah.
I really like this book. What else can I say?
Yeah. You should read the one that comes before it.
Yeah, already going to read all the books that Iain M. Banks wrote.
So the other book, just to give a preview of it, because obviously...
Consider Phlebis.
Basically, what it's about is it's from... Obviously, it's a culture book 1, so it's still a completely separate story, separate characters. There's no connection other than the setting, right? So you don't... What order you read these in, I think, doesn't matter at all, right? It's just how much you already know about the culture, right, going in. So you assume going into this one, Consider Phlebis, you know nothing about the culture. And it's actually told from the perspective of an alien shapeshifty guy who's not in the culture, is philosophically opposed to it, and is working for an alien race that is at war with the culture. And it tells you, basically he's on this mission to do something, to basically recover this mind that like escaped and is trapped on a planet. And he's basically going to try to steal this mind, this culture mind, for the aliens that are fighting against the culture. And you learn about the culture from the outside, mostly interacting with, contact and the war parts, right? And there's some culture people he interacts with, and this whole thing goes on and on, right? And it's pretty fascinating coming, he introduced everyone to the culture from the outside as opposed to from the inside, like we got by reading book 2 first.
But
you get a totally different look at it that way. But
I think in both of these books, the implied argument that the culture is superior is not hammered over your head. It's just demonstrated by the course of events.
Yeah, and I think the other thing is it's really nice to read something that's utopian, that's actually utopian. It's not like, the culture's a dystopia. The only dystopia of the culture that is shown in Player of Games is you may not have free will because the minds come before you, but that is no different from the real universe if physics comes before you.
Yep.
So really,
what's the worst thing that happened? I mean, people die, but that's just reality.
The culture is only a dystopia for conservative people.
Well, or Morad was slightly bored.
Yeah. It could be a dystopia in that way, but not for me. Not for me, Jesus Christ.
Yeah, so I'll say this. I feel like I would not be friends with anyone, or probably am not friends with anyone who, if they read these books, would think anything about the culture but hot damn.
Yeah, well, I mean, I might be friends with you, but,
Yeah, but I might be leery.
You have to understand that I am
wary.
Right, I am philosophically right in line with, if I could make a universe, the culture is extremely close to the universe that I would make and the society that I would make to live in. Very, very close, if not exact. Right? So if you disagree with that, then we have philosophical differences.
Yeah, and hopefully someday we'll learn about ultra space.
Oh my God! Oh,
like that one point when he's just
there's a lot of ultra space.
I love that one part where he's like, "Yo, I kind of don't actually know what's ultra space."
Consider Phlebis has a lot of ultra space going on, and even ultra space, like the grid bombs that blow you up from ultra space and shit. So yeah, fascinating.
This has been Geek Nights with Rim and Scott. Special thanks to DJ Pretzel for the opening music, Kat Lee for web design, and Brando K for the logos.
Be sure to visit our website at frontrowcrew.com for show notes, discussion, news, and more.
Remember, Geek Nights is not 1, but 4 different shows. Sci-Tech Mondays, Gaming Tuesdays, Anime Comic Wednesdays, and Indiscriminate Thursdays.
Geek Nights is distributed under a Creative Commons Attribution 3.0 license. Geek Nights is recorded live with no studio and no audience. But unlike those other late shows, it's actually recorded at night.
It's Thursday, June 13th, 2013. I'm Rim.
I'm Scott.
And this is Geek Nights. Tonight on the GeekNights Book Club, The Player of Games.
Let's do this.
So I guess Reddit liked our anime panel from Anime Boston.
That's really weird. I
I
don't
know.
expect anyone to like any of our shit.
We'll do a PAX panel for a room with like 1,000 people in it. It's this giant deal. And after PAX, there's not a lot of discussion. It's not like we said anything particularly controversial.
Yeah, we put all our panels up, and some people watch them, and some
But
people
there's
like
no
them.
like community, like crazy discussion around them. No one has like a 300 comment thread on Reddit about our Dungeons and Dragons discussion. If anything, the discussion's like, oh, they made some good points about D&D. I have some additional points that I'll make. But with this anime thing, I think we poked the that guys, and the that guys got mad.
I was surprised. I thought there would be mostly that guys, but it was mostly not that guys.
I think that is why that video was popular, because it was for you non-anime people, we basically did this thing called judge an anime by its cover, where we took a bunch of shows and we reviewed them just based on a single picture and a paragraph of summary. And basically, there's a silent majority of anime fans who are kind of sick of the perverted crap and the kind of annoying people who like the perverted crap, and they overwhelmingly seem to take this video as their rallying cry and banner. And meanwhile, the that guys took umbrage with the fact that we called pedophilia shows out for being about pedophilia.
No.
I'm enjoying this. So I guess we need to do more provocative anime panels that just piss off fanboys, but are generally I've done.
Okay, so I'm going to go for the most recent. First, I'm going to do the 3 that are still in progress.
Like 15, that's it.
I have way too many more than
Yeah.
that. Okay, so the most recent ones that are in progress still. Plus pool, tile by tile. These people are going to build a pool, a swimming pool, in the East River down near Brooklyn Bridge area, sort of off the park.
Now, you might be thinking, and you're
Who wants
probably
to fucking
rightfully,
swim in that goddamn East River? You're gonna
So what
get
is this, an
killed.
experiment to murder children? Like, what?
Yeah, it's not. It's give to their credit. It's not a pool in the Gowanus Canal, right?
I imagine they sink this thing in the Gowanus Canal, and there isn't enough water through the filter to
They're
fill
using
it.
technology similar to what was used in the Beacon Hudson River pool, right? Why do we keep living in places with these river pools? But they think it's the world's first water filtering floating pool. So
Now that's bullshit, because I know that they put one in the river in Beacon.
right. So I kickstarted it for $150, which gets me a tile in the pool, one of the white tiles that I can write on it. And
Now there are only 2 things you could write. It either has to be "Look ye mighty," which is, for those of you who don't know us, been our catchphrase for a decade plus. Or the
And
penis
I
mightier.
think it has to be "Look you mighty," because think about the pool itself, right? Look upon this work and despair, this pool, right? It's this great
because
work.
anything else I would write would be copyright infringement, trademark infringement, or obscene.
Anyway, so
Maybe, I mean, there is no
also,
God.
I get-
you're swimming in poop.
yeah, sure. Also, I get passes to go to the pool like a week before it opens to everyone else, which means that it'll actually be a pleasure to swim in it. And
Yeah.
after the public is let in and it's full of poop, I won't never go back. But they'll see my name there.
Plus, you'll be able to take your GoPro in the water and get a really good picture of the tile.
I'm going to be doing all kinds of stuff.
Really the consensus of everyone else. Could we do the same thing for gaming?
Let me go off on all the stuff I usually go off on.
Yeah, but what do we call it to do this, to bring attention to
Okay, well,
it?
what are the things I usually go off on when it comes to gaming?
All right, so how about our panel will be microtransactions are a cancer, a literal cancer that kills people in the real world.
That's a little too far. But I mean, things that I say a lot, right? For example, walk around and hit things games are bullshit crap. Why do you like them? 2, you actually just like games for the theme. You don't actually like games. You are not the same as we are.
All right. So here's what we call that panel. That's not a game, semicolon, you're not a gamer. That is the title.
How about failed to get into Hollywood, stay away from game industry?
Gaming, the bastion of Hollywood washouts.
Oh, snap.
Burn.
Boom. There was the dynamite. Dynamite.
So we were talking about Kickstarters because Scott found a really cool Kickstarter project. And before we talk about the player of games, the GeekNights Book Club, it's the lounge. It's Thursday.
No, it's not. It's book club. Book club and lounge don't mix.
I believe if I was going to have a book club in the physical world, I would have it in a lounge.
The lounge would be too noisy with music and drinking to have a good book club discussion.
There are lounges that have nothing but quiet, tasteful piano music in the background.
That's not a lounge.
Those are lounges.
No, it's not. You need a lounge singer.
That's a different kind of lounge. That's like a bar lounge.
Well,
anyway, I would have a lounge, and more importantly, I would be lounging.
that's not the kind of lounge this is.
On a Chase lounge.
This kind of lounge is the kind with the singer in it.
You gonna sing? Is that what you're saying?
No, Richard Cheese is coming in like 10 minutes.
But yeah, so we're not gonna belabor the point, but we're gonna talk a little about some Kickstarters because we've kickstarted a lot of cool stuff.
I kickstart way too many things.
I've only kickstarted 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Well, you talk about some things you kickstarted. I'm gonna count how many things.
As opposed to these other things, such as Double Fine's Massive Chalice. I think everyone knows about that.
Yep.
Right?
I funded this awesome belt with really classy buckles that is cut to size.
I wish I had seen that.
And has no holes.
Yeah.
It's got this ratchet mechanism in the back. And if anything is up my alley, it's ratchets.
This is already funded, but they're going to make a documentary movie about the Straits Matzah factory in Brooklyn.
The only thing I got in progress is this plume sort of recoil. Basically, you know those snap bracelets from the 90s? It's a steel.
Oh, actually, the factory is on the Lower East Side. I thought it was in
big
Brooklyn.
steel one of those that is sort of a pull-out mudguard and fender for your bikes. You don't have to have a dorky, annoying fender on your bike, but if it starts raining, you've got a fender for as long as you're biking in the wet.
All right.
I commute a lot on my bike.
Limited edition translation of Osamu Tezuka's The Crater. Yeah, okay.
Nah. And then Shovel Knight. Oh, I got this cool titanium
Shovel Knight,
too.
I'm on there. Okay.
Because I don't want to carry keys in my pocket anymore.
Oh, okay.
And it'll match the belt buckle on that fancy belt I kickstarted.
B9 Kingdom, pretty much kickstarting everything they do.
Yeah.
Penny Arcade, yep.
Kobolds Ate My Baby, of course.
I didn't do that one. Cucumber Quest Book 2.
I forgot to do that one.
Torchbearer, yep. The 10-year hoodie, I'm waiting for that to show up.
I'm not a fan of that one.
I need it for work.
But really, the one that I got that's important is this Urange wallet because the Jimmy
I also
wallet
got
is,
that one.
The Jimmy wallet is dead. You can't get it
Sadly.
anymore. It was the best wallet. The guy emailed us way back in Geek Nights. We reviewed that wallet, and the dude emailed us immediately. Was like, "Oh my god, all these people are buying the wallet because of your radio show. How many Jimmies do you want for free?"
And I was like, 0. I already bought some.
I was like, "Yeah, we all already own a Jimmy."
I should have taken up on that offer because now not enough Jimmys.
Yeah. So what's funny is everyone
like that.
Yeah.
When I go,
I'm
because I think
also
it's a
going to
whole. It's not just like a day of going. It's a week of pre-going. So I go like every day.
Now
that
the cool
week.
thing, and I'm not sure what they mean by this, is they say it's going to filter the water, so you're swimming in the water, but the pool itself has filtered the water, so it's just water.
I don't think the water goes straight from the East River into the pool. I think the only way water from the river gets
It's
into
through
the
the filter.
pool is through this machine that cleans it and makes it nice.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Well, the one they did in Beacon, what it did is the pool itself was a filter. The walls of the pool were the filter, and they just sink it, and water just osmoses in through.
Yeah, this is a different. This is some sort of active filtering.
Well, I'm not sure. It seems active, but
They
at
have
the
a
same
picture
time,
of the filter machine.
no, that is the test tank.
Oh.
What they're kickstarting to start is funding to build the test pool that's 35 feet by 35 feet. That's going to be sunk in the water to see if it works full scale. It's going to sit in the water. Water just goes through the filters from the sides and I guess the bottom.
Well, this is
into
a thing I
pool.
want to exist, so that's why I'm giving it money.
Now, what I'm curious about is they say that it will actually clean the water in the East River itself.
Very barely, because it's going to spit out the clean water that's excess, and it's going to keep dirt in the filter. You empty the filter, you're slowly cleaning the East River.
I'm assuming that's how it's going to work. So
Very
we'll see.
small, but you're cleaning at the end. If you want to really clean it, you have to clean it up top. You can't clean it at the bottom.
Well, it depends. I think the technology is cool. Imagine if we start building these en masse and just putting them in every shithole
Yeah,
of
if they
polluted water.
put them all around the river all the way up top, then it would help. But it's not helping down there. Anyway,
This is just a really cool project, and it's finally.
if you talk for this long about each one, we're not
going to talk long about the other ones, but it's finally a project that is doing what Kickstarter is ostensibly for. Someone wants to do a cool thing that wouldn't happen unless they got funding for it. Kickstarting it is to make it happen, not really a pre-order for the